Welcome to the Good of the Whole Connection Field and the Trust Frequency Embodied. All you folks on Facebook and Zoom here in our Zoom room. We are thrilled to be back again tonight with the fifth assumption, which is free will is an absolute law of the universe. We can choose our destiny. We choose our frequency and are in control of our destiny. So that goes with all our other assumptions, and we'll go into that further. Andrew's going to do a meditation to take our heart and our spirit forth into this vibratory level. Then we will give some information for our minds, so our minds and our hearts and spirits can come into coherence along with our bodies, which Wowza Elisa Lodge will bring us an embodiment practice. So I'm Connie Baxter Marlow.
And I'm Andrew Cameron Bailey.
And Wowza's here, and she will be coming on shortly after we do these first two aspects. So, shall we begin?
And when we are done, friends, our minds, spirits, and bodies will be as one.
As one.
That's the
for the good of the whole
exercise here. So, are we ready for the meditation?
Yes.
So we'll begin with about a 7-minute, I almost prefer to call it a shamanic journey, a guided meditation that is an experiment, because this entire thing that we're doing on Zoom these Monday evenings is an experiment, as is the entire human enterprise. The whole thing's an experiment. From my perspective, the universe is an amazing, astonishing experiment. It's also the only thing there is. So, wow, this is pretty wild. So today's subject is free will, agency. How much actual real power do we have as humans? There's this whole paradox, if you will, this sort of the conflict between free will and determinism. We're going to go into the realm of free will and show between this week and next week how we can completely transcend that whole idea that we are powerless. We're going to go into a place where we experiment with the understanding that we have profound, in fact, boundless power, energy, ability to determine our lives. And as a result, really simply, to be happy. Because it's really silly to be all powerful and unhappy, I think. So let's see what we can do with that. So let's close our eyes. Let us sit with our spines erect and just let everything go. The turbulence and the troubles of this past week in the United States and in the world. Everything that's been going on today and yesterday and the day before that has grabbed our attention, and let it go. It'll be there when we come back. And we may well come back with a different perspective, a different attitude, because that's really what the trust frequency work is about. It's about shifting our assumptions, shifting our vibratory state, rising to a higher frequency, and emerging into an alternative reality, but it's actually the real reality. I hope that makes sense. So just feel the air, the breath, entering your lungs very gently, very quietly. As we inhale and exhale very gently, we're going into the place of trust. And in the place of trust, everything is really gentle. Our bodies feel good. Our minds are at peace. Our hearts are full of love, full of gentle trust in this extraordinary universe, which we now know, this is our fifth week, our fifth assumption. We're over the hill, we've passed the tipping point, there's no going back. Here we are. We're in this place of beauty, of safety, of trust. And how does that feel? Just look within, look into your heart. Am I right? Is there just comfort, security, peace, trust? And let's sit here in this beautiful place for a little bit in silence. And then I'll see if I can take us to an even higher place of the spirit. And now I would like us to expand our awareness. Just sit here at the center of something we could perhaps think of as the surface of a balloon, a membrane that is being inflated. And let's just gently become larger and larger and larger until we are larger than the city our bodies are sitting in, until we are larger than the country we are living in, until we are as large as the entire planet Earth. And let us just sit here in this oneness with Gaia, with our mother, with Mother Earth, with nature, and know that we are a powerful, integral part of that mother, of that nature, that our choices, that our understandings, that our actions are part of nature, that we influence and affect everything around us. It's really important that we understand that. And if we can bring our personal, individual love, our vision, our brilliance to bear on our place, our part in the species of which we are a part, and of the planet of which we are a part, I think we all know that we're influencing everything, not just on this planet, but throughout the universe. But let's just stay with this beautiful planet, because the beautiful planet needs us, and we need it. And let's just sit here with a gentle smile at the corners of our mouths. Let's just feel the beauty of being right here, right now. And when you are ready, take a deep cleansing inhalation. And let it go. And open your eyes and welcome yourself and each of us to this room and this space that we are sharing. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. So now we're going to engage our minds, because our minds sabotage our hearts. And we are operating on a set of assumptions, core, deep assumptions that we haven't looked at, we haven't examined perhaps. And our work is about looking at those core assumptions. And right now we're examining the concept of determinism versus free will. And what we need to do first is remember our definition of humanity. So we use certain words in certain ways, and our definition of humanity expresses the overarching act of free will that we gave to a conscious, loving universe, permission that we gave to a conscious, loving universe. And that definition is this: that humanity is a collection of divine, autonomous, sovereign beings who have chosen to incarnate on Earth. Could everyone mute who's not speaking?
Please.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Who have chosen to incarnate on Earth on the soul's journey to wholeness with a gift and a purpose. So with that definition of humanity, that we have chosen to come here on a journey, the journey to wholeness, which is that journey to self-love, self-acceptance, and alignment with our divinity. So, yes, darling.
So that is us. I think we all agree. We are humanity. And that definition of humanity has a word pretty much at the center of the definition, and that word is chosen. We came here as an act of free will. We actually volunteered for this mission. What a wonderful thing. What an extraordinary thing. Look at what people go through having done so. But choice is at the center of the human experience. That is the subject of today's adventure.
Absolutely.
Free will. And it brings up that marvelous paradox of free will versus determinism. There are many people who have felt that they are victims of circumstance. We're going to show you, we're going to show ourselves, we're going to agree, I hope, that we are not victims of circumstance. We are, in fact, beneficiaries of circumstance. Everything that happens in our lives happens for us, not to us. We are not victims. There are no victims. Therefore, there are no perpetrators. That's a huge shift for many people, I know.
Yes, and when you combine it with our previous assumptions that we live in a conscious, loving universe, there is only love. And the nature of that love is unconditional. and it gives us everything we ask for. So when we incarnated, we asked the loving universe to take us on this journey through circumstance, through the people we incarnated into, the families we incarnated into, through the experiences in our lives, through the people who have come into our lives, to show us our light and our shadow, those parts of ourselves we don't love yet. So we ask our readers and you to take these assumptions and definitions as absolutely true as an exercise. We're not saying they are absolutely true, but we're asking you to take them as absolutely true and see what it does to your perceptions of the experiences that have come into your lives. It's a real game changer. It flips everything 180 degrees. It takes us into a frequency that's beyond good and evil, right and wrong, duality. It's a huge leap. And until we do that, until we make that leap, we're still stuck in a lower frequency. The earth is moving into a higher frequency. And so we have to do our interior work with our assumptions, with our consciousness, access a higher frequency with our consciousness, which we have shown is made up of 7 A's, 7 words that begin with A, 7 aspects of consciousness that determine our reality. And we have the free will to choose what we do with these 7 aspects of our consciousness. Do you want to say anything about that?
It is, in fact, an inalienable right that we have surrendered in many cases, because that is not what our society believes. It is not what we were taught as children. So it's an extraordinary taking on of our own responsibility on the one hand, our own power on the other hand, to know that we are, in fact, powerful beings in charge of our own destinies. Because for rather obvious reasons, we've been told otherwise. We behave a lot better when we believe we are powerless. It's much easier to give us orders when we believe that we are inferior, perhaps, or whatever it is. There's somebody who's more powerful, richer, in charge, has higher authority. There's no such thing, friends.
And so these 7 aspects of our consciousness, we have put them in one sentence, and I will say that sentence. With expanded awareness and accurate assumptions, we choose our attitude, consciously direct our attention, align with our highest inner promptings, take committed action, and allow the loving universe to manifest beyond our wildest dreams. Because we go into a higher frequency where the laws are expanded. It's a different ballgame for us individually and ultimately collectively as humanity makes this shift. As we open our hearts, we come together, we bring our gifts together, and we bring a new way of being onto planet Earth. Now, it's what we're up to here in the connection field, serving the good of the whole with our gifts and creating a new whole, a new way of being. So,
Connie just gave us what I see as an evolutionary toolkit. Someone like Barbara Marx Hubbard would look at that and go, oh, that can be useful because we are, from one perspective, conscious evolutionaries. And this is a very, very useful set of tools. You open that toolbox and go in and take out those 7 fundamental tools, and you can build a new reality from the ground up. Wow.
And wow, let's have a Wowza come forth and bring it into her embodiment practice.
And let's, we need to, do you know what we need to do?
What do we do to get her on? Let's
hang on, I think I know.
Okay, Wowza, we're going to spot you.
Okay. Yay, well, I'm off. Can you hear me?
Here we go.
Oh,
there we go.
Yes, hello there.
So we have a toolkit for this body-mind connection now. And this inner universe of microcosm, macrocosm. And I just like to again acknowledge, if indeed there is a inner universe, that makes us a conscious, loving universe. This body, right, is the playground to begin to experimenting how large, how gloriously full we can be as a conscious creator. And this bringing together of more than just body, mind, I see a third force. And I've never seen it as clearly before. Thank you both. This idea of free will. Many of the spiritual traditions, oh, there's no free will, really. When you're in the third dimension, it is very hard. But as we open and expand our awareness and connect with this personal power, the humanness of the free will, boy, those two coming together has really served me and the many people I've worked with. So the toolbox at first, I'd give you just a few things. We go over it every time, but I'd like you to see your sits bones, those 2 big round balls in your pelvis. And if you'd be willing in your open posture to massage, let's say the left one, a figure 8 going over to the right one, and to feel a beautiful figure 8 moving through these 2 ball bearings that, interestingly enough, if you draw a line through to your head, they match the eyes. So I like to feel that these sit bones are the eyes of the pelvis. And they are connecting us to the eyes of the mind. And it's just a really great connection. And as you can see, if you take your hands and carve again a slight arc on your inhale, see this sense of opening. And then there's a slight rounding, right? And so this, I'm just going to take the words free will, free will. You can just feel the dynamics between really having a free and a will that can, how can I now use the free will and in what way? A lot of the time in the past, I was great at saying yes, but not so great at saying no and drawing definitive lines and creating actually a conscious barrier. This is as far as I go now. I appreciate what you're saying. So if we can just for a moment, what would it be like to say, I can use my free will to say no. Let me play with that. I can use my power. Can I hear you? I can't hear you. I guess you're all mute. It's nice to be able to hear you. But I use my free will to say no. I use my free will to say yes. The choice is mine. The choice is mine. Right?
Is mine.
Is mine. I have the free will to open. I have the free will to close consciously and open when I'm ready. How's that feeling? Takes a little bit. It's, again, see, as we can bring it through the body, and as you say, these forms of affirming thoughts, you're wanting to feed all the cells of your body the information, including what I call Sabi, that head controller up there that Connie was saying, boy, I can roll the roost. And to say, Sabi, you know, we can cook in the same kitchen. We have free will now. Let us honor this possibility of honoring our openness, that I, you, we are universal loving beings in a conscious loving universe. And we can now use our mind force to draw lines, to create boundaries, and freely release them. And that also means, and I would do now, just give you one practice. I'm on a ball, so it makes it a little easier, but you can do it sitting in your chair. I use my free will to shake loose the crazies. I use my free will to shimmer my bones off. Just play for a minute, taking your hands like leaves just sparkling in the wind, you know, and like those Kalahari bush people, right? What do before they do anything with any ill thought or boundary that they can't penetrate? What do? They shake it out. They shake it out. And the lighter, the better. See, when you get that spine just shimmering, see, that's where the joy, that's where the excitement, right? See, that's what every child does. Without a fluid, flexible spine, the feelings don't move through as well. So, and to open up that vocal power a little bit, first like the breath, it feels so good. See, to shake loose, to use my power, to use this free spirited will, to say yes, to say no, to be powerful, to release. The choice is mine. Can we hear? The choice is mine.
The choice is mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I have a couple minutes more, 1 minute?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I'd like you to see, there it was in the beginning, was so beautiful in the book. The original assumption was, yeah, this is a mechanical universe. I mean, they're not, what are you talking about? Nothing's going to help me. And I'd like you to just kind of slump a little bit and have fun with this. You know, I mean, what's this all about? I mean, there's nothing live here. This is a mechanical universe. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How much, see, we can develop social roles from these different assumptions. And that's why there is this struggle. Even though we get good information here, see, I am literally trapped in a belief system that says I have to contract. I have to make myself small to fit in, for instance. Well, once we get aware of that, see, that's where this, see, yes, I can use my free will now. See, to bust loose any thought forms that interfere with my full capacity to be present, to be universally growing and expanding. in all the beauty and power that we have. All the resources are here now. So one little shake. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. See the joy of being powerful and loving and strong and delicate. In other words, being the whole blooming show. Yes.
Yes. Yes, wowza, brilliant, beautiful.
It's just so fun to play. See, at last we have the freedom to do that. You know, we have a freedom now.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thanks, Wowza. That
Wowza.
is just beautiful.
And those Kalahari Bush people, you know, I know you are so in touch with that. But that has been such an incredible piece of information about those people. And I really so support you in bringing all this, the indigenous peoples.
Yeah, I've been thinking about them this week. In fact, they have such wisdom that we, at our highest levels of philosophical and scientific wisdom or understanding, we're beginning to catch up with these little people out there in the bush in Africa who just, they hardly ever even use words to express it. And yet that's what they live by. It's amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we're finding our other half. It's the original language. And we're not saying this is this and this is that anymore, but ultimately, see, we're bringing the feelings of the full empowerment, the dynamics of energy back through our words. So in a way, I'm bringing a new quantum body language to the forefront, that we have so much more permission now, so much more freedom to begin to really wow, this is a playground that is par excellence in bringing forth our greatest heart's desire. So here. I'm so glad being aboard.
All right. So let's see if any of our friends here would like to perhaps pose a question, or a challenge would be just fine.
Yeah.
An even higher perspective. We're open to, we're moving into the final about 15 minutes here, where we really can have an exchange or an interchange of ideas and thoughts and visions, because this is a place where we have entered a resonant field of oneness of this group, however many we are. And we don't know how many are with us on Facebook Live right now. How many has it been in previous times? Do you know?
I don't
Quite
know.
a lot, I think. Yeah. Anyway, don't know, but hello, friends out there on Facebook Live. But the only ones we can actually speak with or communicate with are the ones here in the Zoom room. So let's see if, David, do you have something to offer here?
Yeah, sure. First of all, 1,000 thank yous for all of it. You have been talking in a playground that I've consciously been aware of and use actively in my life in many ways, and have been challenged to use because the world feels it is dangerous. The world feels it is dangerous because the world, unfortunately, we've been taught don't feel. We've been taught don't feel and contract and don't let that happen. And even in the very subtle languaging, I was involved and still am exponent in the periphery in a process that started in the early 70s called re-evaluation counseling. It's out of Seattle. And for want of a better, it's a process that kind of focuses on the ability to engage in what's called catharsis, the place of allowing the body to express the natural healings that go on in the context of what we see being the expressions of the distress. We've kind of wired backwards. So when we see someone crying, what do? We try to calm them down. And what we're doing by calming them down is we're calming down the healing. You know, there is really code for cut that shit out on some level, you know. And Wowza, you were just expressing that so beautifully in what you were doing, and I was experiencing that, and these days, kind of because I've been gifted with the place of having a lot of solitude in my life, that I'm able to go back to the place where I was originally introduced to these experiences of being alive and one with my biological, emotional body, and really finally engage my body on a moment-to-moment basis and really ask, okay, what are you feeling right now? Mm-hmm. And what's amazing for me is oftentimes, especially like in the morning when these beautiful people come in and they start talking about letting go of the negative and that, there's like a subtle expectation of don't be expressive in some way. Don't let those expressions come out and everything looks like it's kind of like all peace and calm. And for me, underneath that peace and calm, there's this volcano waiting to fucking explode. You know that you know. And what's really incredible for me is more and more recently, I've been getting myself into doing both worlds simultaneously. I'm also a student of Course in Miracles. And I went through this section, God, about 6 weeks ago, where the instructions were to take these things on there and say them as though you mean them without reservation, okay? Well, in this thing with reevaluation counseling, we were told to hold a direction, like take a statement that's 180 degrees from where the distress is and say it as though we totally mean it emotionally, spiritually. And what happens when you do that is the discharge, the explosion, is going to effervesces up almost involuntarily. So I was sitting there and I was trying to say these things, and all of a sudden inside my mind, this sentence come up saying, "This is a crock of shit." And as soon as I said, even though I was able to grasp the possible reality of that, my inner being was saying, "This is a crock of shit." I let myself hold on to the place of believing without reservation and letting that statement, "This is a crock of shit," happen simultaneously. And when I did, my God, this uproarious laughter exploded within me. And it was incontrollable. And the more I tried to believe that place, the more this is a crock of shit kind of effervesced out, and just kind of, the laughter kept going on. And I think I laughed for about an hour that way. Or, it felt like that. It was a long time. And when I do those kinds of things and I get to the place where that expression kind of subsides, there's a very subtle place of oasis, very subtle place of recognizing that something has been released. And in that release, there's an inner wisdom that allows itself to come in and find itself.
Nice.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, I was feeling it as you two were saying the things you were saying, and my body was kind of trying to, at the same time, my mind was trying to grasp it. And I was talking with Orion last hour. My mind was trying to grasp what she was saying, and my heart recognized my mind was just not going to be able to grasp it. It was beyond grasping at that point. And there was something there my heart needed to listen to at the same time. So this happened again this hour in that way between what you three were doing, and it was really a wonderful, both a reawakening and a validation simultaneously.
Wow.
So thank you for that.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
Let us not forget that the conscious loving universe has the most outrageous sense of humor.
Absolutely.
Have you ever gone diving?
Yeah.
Have you ever put on a Alaskan snorkel and wandered around a coral reef and looked at some of the creatures that have been created, these gorgeous, colorful, insanely exotic beasts that we share this universe with? There is big humor. And the other thing, David, I would say, you reminded me that a really important thing is that there's this massive desire to control people in the culture that most of us live within. And control and trust cannot coexist. They can't live in the same room So trust has to do with letting go of control, and that takes discipline and maturity and characteristics that a lot of humans probably lack at this point. It's like if you go back to Henry Thoreau 150 years ago, talking about how humans can evolve, how governance can evolve. We no longer need people to tell us what to do to control us, because we'll each be our own governors. That is an evolutionary statement from one of our great white wisdom keepers, you know?
It's very radical. Yeah, very radical.
It's a good one too, though.
Our forefathers kind of had glimpses of that here.
Absolutely.
Where are you, David, geographically? Where are you?
I'm in the Sacramento area right now.
Okay. We're in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And
and you what?
LA.
You're in LA, was it?
I'm in Marina Del Rey. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just moved from LA 3 years ago.
You just moved from LA? You're kidding.
No, well, I wasn't born in LA. I was born in Chicago. I moved to LA in '69 after I graduated from college. And for the last, since the late 70s, I was living up in the foothills in La Crescenta, Tujunga area.
So that's great. What I wanted to say in our last few minutes, I wanted to really honor you.
It's great, David. Great to meet you. Is there anybody on the call?
Hold on, I want to make a comment.
Okay.
David, how both you and Wowza brought the importance of the body.
Yes.
Into this process. Thank you for sharing your story and your process, because Wowza knows this and is an agent of it, and of opening people. But your experience of being told to sit down, shut up, and stop crying, and don't do this and don't do that, how it internalized into this peaceful looking body.
Yes.
But how it needed to be released for us to really go into this higher frequency. We've got to do this embodiment of release and integration. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being the floor for allowing me to do that.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anyone else. If Carolina,
and if not, no problem,
wants to share anything, or anybody, or Ariana, or anybody, because otherwise.
Anybody out there?
Wowza, do you have any more words of wisdom?
Hang on, there may be somebody out there.
Well, it's just in terms of the shakeouts. I mean, again, that is just one of a really quick way. I mean, any kind of irritation. I mean, 5 seconds. And using the well, out, clear. Be present. It's really fun.
Yeah. And one of the first steps too is shifting our core assumptions, taking our minds and saying, okay, mind, I'm hearing something new and I'm going to take it in. I'm going to live by it. I have the free will to choose to throw out those old assumptions and take a new one and actually live it, because that's the key. That action piece is what puts us in that higher frequency. So we have the free will to choose our frequency. We have the free will to not align with our higher inner prompting.
We can ignore it if we want to.
We have the free will to put our attention on the lowest of the low. We have our free will to be idiots. We have the free will to have our attitude just be very low vibe.
Look at this country right now. It's kind of obvious.
Cleansing,
freedom.
And choosing. So this is what we want to close with, is just that knowing that it's free will. We get to choose and act, and the universe responds accordingly. These are our requests to a universe that loves us, that responds to us. And that is one way of saying it. The other way of saying it is pure physics.
Pure physics.
It's vibration. It's frequency.
There's a place of intersection I'd like to address within that. My experience in terms of how we respond to the world is that we respond within one or two fields. The one you're speaking of, the place of choice, And then there's a world of what we call conditioning, where somehow we've abdicated that free will. You know?
Right.
That's
Absolutely, David.
But the issue there is, for me, sometimes when I approach people from that place, when they're in a place of reactivity, and I give them the place of them being kind of like saying it's free will to them, it's really hard for them to get to a place where they can't hear that I'm not judging them.
Well, see, it's a great place to not judge, because you just say, hey, I don't care what you do.
It's your choice.
Yeah,
It's your choice.
I get that.
I love you. It's your choice. And that puts the responsibility back on them. If we're not trying to change them, not trying to influence them, we're just, hey, guess what? It's up to you. It's your choice. And so that's what I feel. It's just really important to let everyone have that free will to choose whether to agree or not agree.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I hear that, but even as the way you said it, someone who's really locked in there, and I'm not tied to getting them out. My challenge is, how can I say it to the best I can so they can hear me? And you know, on some levels, they may or may not be able to, but the question for me is, there has to be a way.
Okay,
and I think
I'd like to address that.
Okay, let me just say, I think it's if one says it without attachment, one's own attachment.
Right.
Okay, go on, Wowza.
Well, I've had great success in having people, oh, you have a block. Oh, you feel there's a barrier. Well, let's get into it. How do you know that? How do you experience that in your body? Oh, there's a contraction in your chest. Let's make it more. Let's really, so we can really embody the physiology of holding patterns.
There you go. There you go.
What an incredible insight into that. If I can take on a holding pattern consciously, you stay in there and be good, you know, whatever. Boy, it's mine. I'm no longer lost in the part. And then now what needs to happen? What else is possible? And if I have, when I can allow people to have more of a freer spinal column, we're only as youthful as our spine allows us to be, or as free as our spine allows us to be. And boy, we have rigidified it pretty strongly.
Yeah, we
in every conceivable direction. So it's like we are.
Do you think?
You know, come on, there's nothing in here but energy, but life, but vibration, right? So it's really exciting to. I'm the great block of the world. And teach us how you block yourself. How extraordinary. How extraordinarily talented you are to be able to do that. You know?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And boom, it's gone. It can go that fast when it's really honored and respected. Here it is. This is, you know, my block.
Wow.
And boom, it's gone. I'm in charge of it, and it no longer runs me.
There you go.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And one thing we have to realize that we don't know another soul's journey.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we look at what's going on in the world, the things we call love and the things we call not love, like we call a peace rally love and peaceful behavior and all romantic love, the things we see as not love, like war, like famine, like all the horrible things that happen to us and other people. Well, in this construct, because there's only love and there's only free will and there's only the soul's journey to wholeness, we have to know that everything is serving that soul's journey to wholeness, even though we see it as horrific.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a huge leap.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at before. Yeah, thank you. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Thank you.
And let me say that next week we're going to go to the sixth assumption, which is tied to these assumptions kind of come in pairs, and they're pairs of paradoxes. The first one creates a paradox, like free will, shut up. There's no way I have free will. And then the next one in a sense, resolves that paradox. And this is a beautiful thing that Connie blew my mind 17 years ago when we first met. She had this attitude about circumstance. And
circumstance loves us more than we do.
So circumstance intervenes. We're on a path. We think we're going from A to B, and all of a sudden, here comes something into our lives. We're in the car, we're driving, and somebody drives out of a farm road in a pickup truck and smashes you off the highway. And you're going in a different direction, whatever that circumstance might be. And yet, circumstance, if we know that circumstance is an agent of the divine, an agent of the conscious, it's a guide. It knows us and loves us from a perspective that we don't have when we're in there driving that car. And here comes this shift. Joseph Campbell said an extraordinary thing toward the end of his life. He said there were three things in his life that changed everything, that at the time felt like disasters. And the three things each began with a D. And I think one was a divorce, one was a disease, and one was a death. And these things that he would not have chosen, circumstances that arrived in his life, put him on the path to become this extraordinary individual. And looking back toward the end of his life, he could see with that perspective of some decades how those things put him on the path that he was destined for. Interesting. So, trusting circumstance is extraordinary, because it's really easy to be really, really annoyed at circumstance because I'm doing this and I'm going there. No, you're not, buddy. So that's next week, and I'm just putting a little setup here.
And to remember that everything happens for us, not to us. We move beyond victim perpetrator to benefactor, beneficiary of all experience on our journey to wholeness. Hi, Shelley.
I see Shelley there. Hey there.
I just have to, if you let me, I just have to jump in for a moment, because I literally was writing, I just tuned in and I was writing a note on Facebook, and I was literally writing the word circumstance as you spoke it. I'm not kidding you. Literally writing it.
That's because it loves you.
So often.
It loves us all. And here we are all together. And we're closing now.
Beautiful.
David, thank you for sharing.
Good to meet you, David. Yeah.
Yes.
You too.
I came in to let you know, if for some reason you feel like going longer, you are totally free to do that. Due to unseen circumstances, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Ruben George will not be following tonight.
Oh.
So you have the freedom to go on. Oops, sorry. You have the freedom to go on if you want. I just want to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll close.
I think we will wrap up.
I feel complete also, yeah.
Yeah. And Wowza, you're complete?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us a bounce, Wowza. Show us how you do it. There she goes. Look at that.
I know, after all these years, you know, that most people use it so mechanically, again, to tighten the boom, 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 our mechanical world. But my goodness, to let the waveforms move through us, to move through our fractal world, you know, and here we are. It's just incredible, the freedom that comes from exchanging hard, solid solidarity of mind-body furniture into something that is very congenial. I can come towards you, I can move away, I can go in this, I can go in any direction. And I'm really honoring a fluidity of being, meaning we can take on any shape and we can dissolve it at will. We're not stuck, we're not defined in any shape.
And you've been working in China. You've opened so many in China to this.
Yeah, 15 years working with the Chinese.
Yes, girl.
Really.
Well, thank you for all your work, and thank you for joining us.
All right, friends.
Trust Frequency Embodied. Thank you, Shelley, for all you do. And we'll close it now.
Shelley, do I need to hand you back the host?
I gotta go.
Yes, after you let people stop the live stream.
Okay, so how do we do that?
What?
You stop the live stream, right?
Or do we do it?
Shelley?
You can do it because you're the host.
Yeah.
Or
See,
you can make me the host.
so I can stop the live stream, right?